the birth of a beverage in a turbulent era. To understand Pepsi's secret ingredient history, we must first step back into the chaotic world of late 19th century America. The nation was still healing from the scars of the Civil War, 1861–1865, a conflict that left over 620,000 dead and countless more wounded, both physically and mentally. In the South, where Pepsi was born, Reconstruction, 1865–1877, had just ended, ushering in an era of economic hardship, racial tensions, and rapid industrialization. Cities like New Bern, North Carolina, Pepsi's birthplace, were small but bustling, becoming hubs of commerce and innovation amid widespread poverty and disease. New Bern, with its coastal location and population of around 7,000 in the 1890s, was a microcosm of the New South. Recovering from wartime destruction, it featured a mix of agriculture, shipping, and small businesses, including pharmacies that served as community centers. This was the Gilded Age, 1870s–1900, a time of stark contrasts. Robber barons amassed fortunes while workers toiled in factories for pennies. Public health was abysmal. Cholera, typhoid, and dysentery ravaged populations due to contaminated water supplies. Alcoholism was rampant, fueled by saloons that dotted every corner, but the temperance movement, a moral crusade against booze led by figures like Carrie Nation, was gaining steam. Into this void stepped patent medicines, unregulated elixirs promising cures for everything from baldness to tuberculosis. These weren't modern pharmaceuticals. They were often alcohol-laced concoctions spiked with opium, morphine, or digestive enzymes, sold by traveling medicine men or local pharmacists. Pepsin itself had only recently entered the Western world. Derived from the stomachs of pigs or cows, it was isolated in the 1830s by German physiologist Theodor Schwannesser. Digestive enzyme that breaks down proteins. By the 1880s, it was hailed as a wonder aid for indigestion or dyspepsia, a common complaint in an era of heavy, greasy meals and stress. European products like Pepsin-based tonics crossed the Atlantic, inspiring American knockoffs. In the US, Pepsin was legal, cheap, and ubiquitous in syrups, powders, and even chewing gums. It symbolized progress, a natural enzyme from scientific discovery, tamed for exotic relief from everyday woes. Pharmacies were the epicenters of this medicinal boom. Not sterile chains like today's CVS, but bustling social hubs with marble counters, brass spigots, and soda fountains, ornate machines dispensing carbonated health drinks. Soda fountains emerged in the early 1800s as mineral water dispensers, believed to mimic healing springs. By the 1890s, they were America's non-alcoholic bars, serving flavored seltzers mixed with syrups. In a pre-refrigeration era, these cold, fizzy drinks were luxuries, and pharmacists often self-taught. Chemists experimented wildly with ingredients. In New Bern, such fountains were popular gathering spots, where locals sought relief from the humid climate and digestive issues. The industry was worth over $80 million annually by the 1890s, with tonics like Dr. Pepper, invented in 1885 as a digestive aid, setting the stage. These drinks were marketed as cures for dyspepsia, leveraging enzymes like pepsin or natural extracts to promise relief. The lack of regulation allowed bold claims, but it also led to quackery, with some products containing alcohol or narcotics. The temperance movement boosted non-alcoholic alternatives, making soda fountains moral oases in a boozy world. Enter Caleb Bradham, a young pharmacist whose experiments at his New Bern drugstore would birth Pepsi. In 1893, amid this turbulent backdrop, Bradham created Brad's Drink, a carbonated concoction aimed at aiding digestion. Drawing from the patent medicine trend, he blended cola nuts for caffeine, sugar for sweetness, and other flavors to create a refreshing tonic. Renamed Pepsi Cola in 1898, it evoked pepsin or dyspepsia, though pepsin was never included. This invention captured the era's spirit, a health-focused beverage for a nation seeking simple remedies in complex times. The Gilded Age's economic boom and bust cycles influenced Bradham's success. New Bern's growth as a trade hub provided a ready market, but sugar shortages and price fluctuations would later challenge the brand. Racial dynamics in the South added layers. While Bradham's business served a segregated society, Pepsi's marketing aimed at broad appeal, reflecting the era's tensions. Pepsi's birth in this turbulent era highlights how everyday innovations addressed real needs. From contaminated water to digestive woes, the stage was set for a beverage that promised relief and refreshment. As we delve deeper, Bradham's story unfolds against this backdrop of invention and aspiration. Caleb Davis Bradham, the pharmacist inventor behind the formula. Caleb Davis Bradham, the visionary pharmacist who created Pepsi Cola, stands as a testament to the ingenuity of late 19th century American entrepreneurs. Born into a modest Southern family during the Reconstruction era, Bradham's life was marked by a relentless pursuit of knowledge and innovation. Unlike John Stith Pemberton, whose Coca-Cola was born from personal pain and addiction, Bradham's creation emerged from a desire to offer relief to everyday ailments like indigestion, reflecting the era's focus on health tonics and soda fountain culture. His story is one of small-town ambition, blending pharmaceutical expertise with business acumen, ultimately giving rise to a global brand that rivals Coca-Cola. This chapter delves into Bradham's biography, exploring his early life, education, professional journey, the invention of Pepsi, his family, and his lasting legacy. Through his experiences, we see how the Gilded Age's spirit of experimentation shaped not just a beverage, but an enduring American icon. Early life and family background. Caleb Davis Bradham was born on May 27, 1867, in Chinkapin, a small rural community in Duplin County, North Carolina. This was a time when the South was still reeling from the Civil War's devastation, with families like the Bradhams navigating economic uncertainty and social upheaval. His father, George Washington Bradham, was a farmer, merchant, and sawmill operator, embodying the hard-working ethos of post-war Reconstruction. His mother, Julia McCann Bradham, came from a family with Scottish-Irish roots, providing a stable home environment that emphasized education and community involvement. Growing up in a farming community, young Caleb was exposed to the rigors of rural life, including the health challenges faced by laborers' indigestion from heavy meals, fatigue from long days, and limited access to medical care. These experiences likely sparked his interest in pharmacy as he witnessed local remedies and tonics used to alleviate common ailments. Chinkapin, with its pine forests and agricultural focus, was far from the bustling cities, but it instilled in Bradham a practical mindset and a desire for self-improvement. He attended local schools, showing early aptitude in science and mathematics, which would later fuel his experiments at the soda fountain. Bradham's family was deeply rooted in North Carolina's history. His paternal grandfather, also named Caleb, was a veteran of the War of 1812, and the Bradhams had ties to early colonial settlers. This heritage of resilience influenced Caleb, who, as the eldest of several siblings, took on responsibilities early. The family's modest means meant that education was a luxury, but George Washington Bradham prioritized it, sending Caleb to higher learning institutions despite financial strains. Education and path to pharmacy. Bradham's formal education began in local North Carolina schools, where he excelled in studies. In 1886, at age 19, he enrolled at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, UNC, initially intending to study medicine. UNC, founded in 1789, was a hub for Southern intellectuals, and Bradham immersed himself in chemistry and biology courses. However, a family financial crisis, possibly related to his father's business, setbacks forced him to leave after 3 years without a degree. Undeterred, Bradham shifted to pharmacy, a field requiring less time and offering practical skills. He attended the University of Maryland School of Medicine in Baltimore, completing his pharmacy training in 1890. Pharmacy education then emphasized compounding medicines, botany, and chemistry, aligning with the era's patent medicine boom. Bradham's studies exposed him to digestive enzymes like pepsin, derived from hog stomachs, which was popular for treating dyspepsia. This knowledge would later inspire his beverage experiments, though pepsin itself was never part of Pepsi's formula. Returning to New Bern in 1890, Bradham purchased the Bishop Drugstore on Middle Street for $1,500, renaming it Bradham's Pharmacy. New Bern, a coastal town with about 7,000 residents, was recovering from the war, with a growing middle class seeking health remedies. Bradham's store became a community hub, complete with a soda fountain where he mixed custom drinks. The invention of Pepsi Cola. From Brad's drink to a national brand, Bradham's invention stemmed from observing customers' needs. In 1893, at his soda fountain, he created Brad's drink, a mix of carbonated water, sugar, vanilla, rare oils, and cola nuts, designed to aid digestion and provide a refreshing pick-me-up. The cola nuts, imported from Africa, added caffeine and a nutty flavor, while the other ingredients masked bitterness. It was marketed as relieving dyspepsia, headache, and fatigue, tapping into the patent medicine trend. By 1898, inspired by its popularity, Bradham renamed it Pepsi Cola, combining pepsin, a digestive enzyme, or dyspepsia, with cola for the cola nuts. Pepsin was never an ingredient. The name evoked health benefits, positioning it as a rival to Coca-Cola. Bradham incorporated the Pepsi Cola Company in 1902, trademarking the name in 1903. He expanded with bottling franchises, reaching 250 by 1909. Ads promised, exhilarating, invigorating, aids digestion. Personal life and community involvement. Bradham married Charity Creddle Murray on January 1, 1901, in New Bern. They had 3 children: Mary, born 1903, Caleb Jr., 1905, and George, 1907. Family life was centered in New Bern, where Bradham was active in the community as a Freemason, Shriner, and Woodman of the World. He served as Craven County Commissioner, on the Naval Consulting Board during WWI, and in banking and naval stores. Later years, bankruptcy and death post-WWI sugar prices skyrocketed, then crashed, bankrupting Bradham in 1923. He sold assets to Craven Holding Company for $35,000. Returning to pharmacy, he lived quietly until his death on February 19, 1934, from heart disease at age 66. Buried in Cedar Grove Cemetery, New Bern. Legacy. From local tonic to global rival, Bradham's invention outlived him, becoming PepsiCo, a $250 billion empire. New Bern honors him with the birthplace of Pepsi Museum. His legacy, a symbol of American entrepreneurship, proving a small-town pharmacist could challenge giants. Bradham's story, though less dramatic than Pemberton's, highlights the Gilded Age's innovative spirit, where everyday solutions became empires. The chemistry of the original formula. Cola nuts, sugar, and the pepsin myth. The chemistry behind Pepsi Cola's original formula represents a fascinating intersection of late 19th century pharmacology, natural extracts, and entrepreneurial experimentation. Created by Caleb Bradham in his New Bern pharmacy, the beverage was designed not as a mere refreshment, but as a digestive aid, drawing on the era's fascination with tonics that promised health benefits through simple, palatable ingredients. Unlike Coca-Cola's inclusion of coca leaf extract, with its trace cocaine, Pepsi's formula emphasized cola nuts for a caffeine kick, sugar for sweetness, and a blend of flavors to soothe indigestion. This chapter explores the scientific underpinnings of Bradham's creation, dissecting the key components, their roles, and how they contributed to the drink's appeal. We'll also debunk the persistent myth surrounding pepsin, a digestive enzyme often erroneously linked to the name. Pepsin traced the formula's evolution over time, from its syrupy origins to modern reformulations driven by health trends and economic factors. Through this lens, we see how Pepsi's chemistry not only mirrored the Gilded Age's innovative spirit, but also adapted to changing consumer demands and regulatory landscapes. The foundations. A syrup born from pharmacy experimentation. Bradham's formula emerged in 1893 as Brad's drink, a carbonated concoction mixed at his soda fountain to address common complaints like dyspepsia, indigestion, a prevalent issue in an era of heavy, fried foods and irregular meals. The process involved creating a concentrated syrup that could be diluted with carbonated water, a common practice in pharmacies where sodas were customized for patrons. Bradham's goal was to craft something exhilarating and invigorating that aided digestion without the alcohol or narcotics found in many patent medicines. The syrup's base was simple yet effective, a combination of natural flavors dissolved in sugar water, with carbonation added at serving to create the signature fizz. Carbonation itself, discovered by Joseph Priestley in 1767, was prized for its perceived digestive benefits, as the bubbles were thought to stimulate stomach acids and relieve bloating. Bradham's experiments likely involved trial and error, adjusting ratios to achieve a balanced taste that masked the bitterness of kola nuts while enhancing refreshment. A typescript from his 1923 bankruptcy proceedings offers a rare glimpse, listing ingredients like sugar, water, caramel, lemon oil, nutmeg, and kola nuts, among other rare oils and additives. This formula was non-alcoholic, aligning with temperance ideals, and focused on natural stimulants rather than narcotics. The drink's pH, around 2.5 due to citric acid from lemon oil, contributed to its tangy profile and preservative qualities, preventing spoilage in an era without modern refrigeration. Caramel coloring, derived from heated sugar, provided the amber hue and a subtle burnt note, while vanilla extract added smoothness. These elements combined to create a complex flavor profile that distinguished Pepsi from contemporaries like Coca-Cola, which had a more herbal edge from coca leaves. Key ingredient: kola nuts, and their stimulating role at the heart of Pepsi's formula were kola nuts, Kola acuminata, imported from West Africa, which gave the drink its kola name and caffeine content. Kola nuts contain 235% caffeine, along with theobromine, a milder stimulant, and tannins, which impart a bitter, nutty taste. In the original recipe, they were ground and infused into the syrup, providing about 80 mg of caffeine per serving, similar to a cup of coffee, for an energizing effect without the narcotic risks of coca. Nuts' theobromine enhanced caffeine's effects, promoting alertness and mild euphoria, which Bradham marketed as aiding digestion by stimulating gastric juices. Kola nuts were exotic and costly, sourced through colonial trade routes, adding to the drink's allure. Their bitterness was balanced by sugar up to 10 teaspoons per serving in early batches for palatability. Sugar, derived from cane or beet, provided energy and masked flavors, but fluctuations in price would later doom Bradham's business. Other components: vanilla, caramel, and rare oils. Vanilla extract from vanilla planifolia orchids added a creamy, aromatic depth, softening the cola's bite. Caramel, heated sugar, gave color and a toasty note. Lemon oil provided citric acid for tang, aiding preservation. Nutmeg and rare oils, possibly cinnamon or coriander, added spice. These created a balanced emulsion, stable when mixed with carbonated water. The Pepsin myth. Debunking a persistent, enduring myth claims Pepsi contained pepsin, a digestive enzyme due to the name. Pepsin, isolated in 1836, was used in tonics for breaking down proteins. However, reliable sources confirm no pepsin in the formula. The name was marketing, from dyspepsia or to evoke aid. Pepsin would have been unstable in acidic soda and costly. The myth persists due to the name and marketing, but official histories debunk it. Evolution of the formula. From syrup to modern variants, the original formula remained stable until the 1920s, but changes came with ownership shifts. In 1931, after bankruptcy, Loft Inc. reformulated for taste and cost. HFCS replaced sugar in 1984 for sweetness stability. Recent reductions, up to 50% sugar cut in some markets, use artificial sweeteners. Real sugar variants hark back to origins. Pepsi's chemistry, simple yet effective, set it apart, focusing on digestion without controversy. Pepsin in the broader context of patent medicines. To fully grasp the role of pepsin, or rather, its mythic association, in early Pepsi Cola, we must zoom out and examine the wild, unregulated landscape of patent medicines in late 19th century America. This was an era when medicine was less about rigorous science and more about entrepreneurial flair, hyperbolic claims, and a dash of outright quackery. Patent medicines named not because they were patented, most weren't, as that would require disclosing ingredients, but because they were proprietary. Formulas dominated the health market. They promised to cure everything from baldness to tuberculosis, often with ingredients that were addictive, toxic, or both. Pepsin, as a key player in this scene for digestive remedies, wasn't an outlier in Pepsi's story. It was emblematic of a broader cultural and commercial phenomenon that blended hope, hype, and hidden dangers. Even though pepsin was never actually in Pepsi, the enzyme's popularity in tonics helps explain why Bradham chose a name evoking it, positioning his drink amid a sea of stomach-soothing elixirs. The rise of patent medicines. A nation thirsty for cures, the patent medicine boom traces its roots to the early 1800s, but it exploded after the Civil War. America was a nation in pain literally. The war had left hundreds of thousands wounded, many addicted to morphine known as the army disease. Urbanization brought overcrowding, poor sanitation, and epidemics. Rural areas fared no better, with limited access to doctors. Trust in traditional medicine was low. Physicians often relied on brutal treatments like bloodletting or mercury-based calomel, which could cause more harm than good. Into this gap stepped patent medicine makers, who marketed their products directly to consumers through newspapers, almanacs, and traveling shows. By the 1890s, the industry was worth over $80 million annually, equivalent to billions today. These elixirs were sold everywhere. Drugstores, general stores, even by mail order from catalogs like Sears, Roebuck & Co. Their appeal lay in accessibility, no prescription needed, and extravagant promises. Ads claimed they could purify the blood, invigorate the nerves, or restore vitality. In reality, many were alcohol-based, up to 90% in some cases, laced with narcotics to ensure repeat business. The lack of regulation was staggering. The federal government didn't require ingredient disclosure until the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act. Pharmacists played a central role, acting as both retailers and creators. In small towns like New Bern, the local druggist was a trusted figure, mixing custom tonics on site. Soda fountains, introduced in the 1820s, evolved into social hubs where these medicines were dispensed as fizzy drinks, masking bitter tastes with sugar and carbonation. This is where Pepsi fit in, not as a soda pop, but as a temperance drink and digestive tonic, competing with hundreds of similar products. Pepsin's entry into the medical mainstream. Pepsin's journey to America began in scientific laboratories. Isolated in 1836 by Theodor Schwann, a German physiologist, pepsin is an enzyme produced in the stomach that breaks down proteins into peptides, aiding digestion. It was derived from animal sources, typically pig or cow stomachs, through a process of extraction and purification. By the 1870s, commercial production made it affordable, and it became a staple in patent medicines for treating dyspepsia, heartburn, and related issues. Pepsin, discovered in 1836 by Theodor Schwann, was a proteolytic enzyme extracted from animal stomachs, used to break down proteins in the digestive process. It became a staple in patent medicines for treating dyspepsia, heartburn, and indigestion, conditions rampant in the Victorian era due to diets high in fats and starches. Pepsin was marketed as a natural aid, often combined with bitters or carbonation to enhance its effects. In patent medicines, it debuted in products like Pepsin syrup or Dr. Harter's iron tonic, endorsed by physicians as a cure for weak stomach. American imitations followed European digestive aids, with pepsin powders and lozenges becoming household staples. Pepsin was cheap, produced commercially by the 1870 Zandalgal, appearing in chewable tablets for children and tonics for adults. It wasn't just medicine. Pepsin was added to foods and drinks to promote digestion, reflecting the era's belief in enzymatic therapy. The dark side. While pepsin was relatively safe, mannitonics hid alcohol or opiates, leading to addiction. Overuse caused dependency, and poor quality control resulted in ineffective or contaminated products. Racial and class biases influenced marketing. Tonics were sold to laborers as energy boosters, often exploiting vulnerable populations. Competitors included Dr. Pepper, 1885, a pepsin-free digestive aid with 23 flavors, and Moxie, 1885, which claimed nerve benefits. Non-pepsin rivals like root beer focused on herbal relief. The road to regulation. Muckrakers like Samuel Hopkins Adams exposed frauds in 1905, leading to the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act, which required labeling and curbed wild claims. Legacy. Pepsin's era birthed consumer protection, influencing modern supplements. For Pepsi, the Pepsin myth underscores how health hype shaped branding, even without the enzyme changes to the formula. Timeline, reasons, and aftermath. The evolution of Pepsi-Cola's formula is a story of adaptation, driven by economic pressures, consumer preferences, regulatory shifts, and health trends, rather than the dramatic narcotic purge scene in Coca-Cola's history. From Caleb Bradham's original syrup, in 1893, a simple blend of cola nuts, sugar, and flavors aimed at aiding digestion to modern variants with reduced sugar and artificial sweeteners, Pepsi's recipe has undergone subtle yet significant transformations. These changes were not abrupt overhauls, but incremental adjustments that ensured the brand's survival through bankruptcies, wars, and wellness movements. This chapter outlines the key timeline of formula modifications, explores the multifaceted reasons behind them, including cost efficiencies, marketing strategies, and public health concerns, and examines the aftermath, which saw Pepsi emerge as a resilient competitor to Coca-Cola, with a legacy of innovation tempered by controversies over ingredients like high-fructose corn syrup, HFCS. Through this lens, we see how Pepsi's chemistry reflected broader societal changes, from the Gilded Age's focus on natural tonics to the 21st century's demand for healthier options. The timeline. From original syrup to contemporary reformulations, the journey of Pepsi's formula began in 1893 with Bradham's creation of Brad's Drink, a carbonated syrup mixed at his new Bern pharmacy fountain. The original recipe, as gleaned from historical accounts and a 1923 bankruptcy typescript, included carbonated water, sugar, cane or beet, vanilla, caramel, lemon oil, nutmeg, cola nuts, and other rare oils for flavor, and a mild caffeine boost. This mix was non-alcoholic, with no pepsin despite the later name's implication, and focused on natural ingredients for digestive relief. Renamed Pepsi-Cola in 1898, the formula remained stable through the early 1900s, with bottling starting in 1903 to expand distribution. Sales grew to 19,848 gallons by 1904, but no major changes occurred until Bradham's 1923 bankruptcy, triggered by sugar price volatility post-World War. The first significant tweak came in the 1930s under Charles Guth of Loft, Inc., who acquired the brand. Chemists refined the syrup for consistency, adjusting flavor ratios to appeal to a broader audience during the Great Depression. Sugar levels were optimized for sweetness without cloying, and the caffeine from cola nuts was standardized. This era introduced the 12-oz bottle, indirectly influencing formula tweaks for better carbonation retention. In the 1950s, under Alfred Steele, the formula was desweetened, slightly to align with post-war tastes favoring lighter beverages. Sugar was reduced by about 10–15% and flavors refined for a crisper profile. The 1980s brought the switch to HFCS in the US, replacing cane sugar for cost and consistency. In the 2000s, throwback editions reverted to real sugar. Recent changes in 2025 include 35–40% sugar reductions in markets like Europe, adding sweeteners like stevia. This responds to global sugar taxes and obesity concerns. Reasons: economic, health, and regulatory pressures. Changes were driven by cost. HFCS in 1984 was cheaper and sweeter than sugar. Health trends in the 1950s led to lighter sweetness. Regulations like sugar taxes prompted 2025 reductions. Marketing also drove tweaks like throwback for nostalgia. The aftermath. Brand resilience and controversies. Changes boosted sales but sparked backlash, like HFCS criticism for obesity links. Pepsi responded with variants, maintaining market share. Pepsi's formula changes highlight adaptability, turning challenges into strengths. Myths versus facts. Debunking the exaggerations. The history of Pepsi-Cola and its original formula has, like many iconic brands, accumulated a layer of myths, urban legends, and misconceptions over the decades. These tales often stem from the beverage's pharmacy origins, its secretive recipe, and its long-standing rivalry with Coca-Cola, amplified by social media, conspiracy theories, and misinterpretations of historical facts. Unlike Coca-Cola's well-documented cocaine connection, Pepsi's myths are more subdued but persistent, revolving around ingredients like pepsin, bizarre additives, and corporate espionage. This chapter dissects the most common exaggerations, drawing on historical records, company statements, and fact-checking sources to separate truth from fiction. By debunking these, we not only clarify Pepsi's story, but also explore why such myths endure, rooted in nostalgia, sensationalism, and the allure of hidden secrets in everyday products. We'll examine each myth in detail, backed by evidence, and conclude with the verified facts that reveal a beverage born from simple innovation rather than scandal. Myth 1. Pepsi-Cola originally contained pepsin. The digestive enzyme. One of the most pervasive myths about Pepsi is that its original formula included pepsin, a digestive enzyme derived from animal stomachs, which supposedly gave the drink its name and health benefits. This legend persists in articles, social media posts, and even some historical overviews, suggesting that Bradham added pepsin to aid indigestion, making Pepsi a true medicinal tonic. Proponents point to the name Pepsi as evidence, claiming it directly references the enzyme. This is entirely inaccurate, a misconception fueled by the era's patent medicine trends and the name's etymology. According to PepsiCo's official history and multiple fact checks, pepsin was never an ingredient in Pepsi-Cola. Bradham's 1923 bankruptcy typescript, which lists the formula, makes no mention of pepsin. Instead, it includes sugar, water, caramel, lemon oil, nutmeg, and cola nuts. The name Pepsi likely derives from dyspepsia, indigestion, the condition it aimed to relieve, or as a nod to pep for energy from caffeine, not the enzyme. Pepsin, while popular in other tonics like pepsin syrup, would have been unstable in an acidic, carbonated drink like Pepsi, degrading quickly and adding an off taste. Why does this myth endure? It arises from associative naming and the Gilded Age's hype around digestive enzymes. Early ads claimed Pepsi aids digestion, leading to assumptions about pepsin. Fact-checkers like Snopes and Wikipedia confirm. Despite its name and hearsay, pepsin was never an ingredient of Pepsi-Cola. The myth adds a layer of secret history, making the brand seem more mysterious, but it's pure exaggeration. Myth 2. Pepsi products contain aborted fetal cells or other bizarre additives, a more recent and outlandish myth, amplified by conspiracy theories and anti-vaccine rhetoric, claims that PepsiCo products contain aborted fetal cells or derivatives from human embryonic kidney cells, HEK 293, used in flavor research. This originated from a 2011 letter by anti-abortion groups accusing Pepsi of using Cenomix, a biotech firm allegedly employing HEK cells in taste testing. This is categorically false, debunked by multiple sources including Reuters and PepsiCo statements. PepsiCo clarified in 2021 that it does not use Cenomix ingredients in its products and has never funded or conducted research involving aborted fetal cells. Cenomix used HEK 293 cells, derived from a 1973 elective abortion, in lab tests to develop flavor enhancers. But these cells are not ingredients, they're tools for research, like in vaccine development. Pepsi ended its Cenomix partnership in 2011 amid backlash, and no fetal material has ever been in the formula. The myth thrives on misinformation, often linked to broader conspiracy narratives. Fact checks emphasize that HEK cells are replicated in labs and not harvested anew, but the claim persists on platforms like Reddit and Facebook, fueling boycotts. Pepsi's response has been transparent, affirming ethical sourcing. Myth 3. The secret formula includes hidden or exotic ingredients like prune juice or animal products. Another exaggeration suggests Pepsi's secret formula contains unusual additives, such as prune juice for a laxative effect or animal-derived ingredients, tying back to its digestive roots. Some claim it's why Pepsi tastes fruitier than Coke. These are unfounded. The original formula, as per historical documents, consisted of natural flavors like vanilla, lemon oil, and cola nuts, no prunes or animals. Modern Pepsi is vegan, with no animal products, confirmed by Peter and Company labels. The prune myth may stem from Dr. Pepper's 23 flavors, but Pepsi's citrus-forward profile comes from citric acid and oils. Secrecy fuels speculation. Attempts to reverse engineer, like in Quora discussions, come close but fail due to proprietary blends. A 1941 document surfaced in a lawsuit, but Pepsi disputes its authenticity. Myth 4. Pepsi once contained cocaine or other narcotics like Coca-Cola. Given the rivalry, some conflate Pepsi with Coke's cocaine past, claiming early Pepsi had similar stimulants. Pepsi never contained cocaine or narcotics. Its formula was always non-narcotic, focusing on cola nuts for caffeine. Bradham invented it in 1893, post-Coke's 1886 launch, but avoided coca leaves, emphasizing digestion over stimulation. This myth arises from era overlap, but Pepsi's clean formula helped it avoid scandals. Myth 5. People stole Coke's formula and sold it to Pepsi. A true story twisted into myth. In 2006, 3 people tried selling Coca-Cola's secrets to Pepsi, but Pepsi alerted Coke and the FBI, leading to arrests. The myth exaggerates Pepsi's involvement. They acted ethically, not acquiring the formula. The facts. A balanced view of Pepsi's formula history. No Pepsin. Name from dyspepsia. Formula natural flavors. No fetal cells. Debunked. No Cenomics in products. Secret formula. Protected but known basics. Cola, sugar, flavors. No narcotics. Caffeine from cola only. Myths endure due to secrecy and rivalry, but facts show simple innovation. Cultural impact and legacy. Pepsi-Cola's journey from a modest pharmacy tonic in 1893 New Bern to a global powerhouse is a narrative of cultural resonance, rivalries, and reinvention. Unlike Coca-Cola's association with American nostalgia and holidays, Pepsi has carved its niche as the choice of a new generation, embodying youth, rebellion, and value in a competitive market. Its blue branding stands in stark contrast to Coke's red, symbolizing a perpetual underdog that punches above its weight through savvy marketing and pop culture ties. This chapter explores Pepsi's profound influence on society, from shaping advertising wars and music endorsements to its role in social movements and global expansion. We'll examine how the brand navigated economic crises, health debates, and digital eras, leaving a legacy as a $90 billion empire under PepsiCo, with products in over 200 countries. Pepsi's story reflects America's evolving identity, innovative, diverse, and resilient, adapting from a digestive aid to a cultural icon that challenges norms while embracing inclusivity. Pepsi, as a symbol of American culture and consumerism, from its inception, Pepsi embodied the American ethos of accessibility and aspiration. Bradham's creation in the Gilded Age targeted everyday consumers seeking affordable relief, mirroring the era's rise of mass-market goods. By the 1930s, during the Great Depression, Pepsi's twice as much for a nickel positioning made it a symbol of value, appealing to working-class families when Coke seemed premium. This strategy doubled sales, embedding Pepsi in the narrative of economic resilience. The contour bottle, introduced in 1940 with its swirl design, became an icon of mid-century modernism, featured in art and films as a counterpoint to Coke's classic shape. Pepsi's integration into American culture extended to literature, film, and daily life. It appeared in F. Scott Fitzgerald's works as a symbol of youthful exuberance, and in movies like Back to the Future, 1985, where it's a nostalgic prop. The brand's evolution under PepsiCo, formed in 1965 through merger with Frito-Lay, expanded its portfolio to snacks and beverages, making it a consumerism staple, with annual revenues exceeding $90 billion by 2025. PepsiCo's diversification into products like Mountain Dew and Gatorade, acquired in 2001, reinforced its role in snacking culture, influencing diets worldwide. The brand's influence on holidays is subtler than Coke's Santa, but notable. Pepsi sponsored events like Thanksgiving parades and New Year's Eve celebrations, associating with family gatherings and fun. This positioning as the affordable alternative resonated in consumer culture, challenging Coke's dominance and symbolizing choice in a monopolistic market. Influence on advertising, pop culture, and social movements. Pepsi's advertising redefined rivalry, coining the Cola Wars in the 1970s-80s. The Pepsi Challenge, 1975. Blind taste tests claiming preference over Coke revolutionized comparative ads, boosting market share from 6% to 17%. Slogans like the choice of a new generation, 1984, targeted youth, featuring icons like Michael Jackson, whose 1984 ad tour was a cultural phenomenon despite her infamous hair fire incident. Endorsements from Madonna, Britney Spears, and Beyoncé solidified Pepsi's pop music ties, influencing youth culture and sales. In film and TV, Pepsi's product placement in Back to the Future II, 1989, and Wayne's World, 1992, parodied consumerism, while Super Bowl ads became annual events, like the 2023 SodaStream spoof. Social movements. Pepsi supported civil rights by integrating earlier than Coke and ran diversity campaigns, though a 2017 Kendall Jenner ad drew backlash for trivializing protests. Philanthropy via the PepsiCo Foundation funds education and sustainability, softening its image. Role in World War II and global expansion. During WWII, Pepsi supplied troops, though less extensively than Coke, positioning as patriotic. Post-war, acquisitions like Mountain Dew, 1964, fueled growth. Global reach by 2025 includes 200 countries, with localized flavors like Pepsi Black in Asia. It symbolizes Pepsi generation worldwide, but faces criticism for cultural imperialism. Modern legacy, health controversies, sustainability, and enduring icon status. Pepsi's legacy is mixed. A $90 billion giant, but critiqued for sugar content. Responses include Pepsi Zero Sugar and recycling initiatives. Culturally, it inspires museums like the Pepsi Cola birthplace and remains a pop icon. Pepsi's impact, from tonic to cultural force, embodying challenge and change. Modern echoes, formula changes in 2025, and ongoing debates. As of October 16, 2025, Pepsi Cola's formula continues to evolve, reflecting a brand that has always adapted to consumer demands, regulatory pressures, and health trends. Unlike Coca-Cola's ongoing use of decoconized coca leaves, Pepsi's modern echoes revolve around its secretive syrup blend, recent reductions in sugar and artificial ingredients, and debates over sustainability and wellness. This chapter examines the current state of Pepsi's formula, the significant changes implemented in 2025, such as sugar cuts and the phasing out of artificial dyes, the broader discussions on high-fructose corn syrup, HFCS, and artificial sweeteners, and the ethical, environmental, and health controversies that persist. As global movements push for healthier beverages and transparent sourcing, PepsiCo's adjustments highlight tensions between profitability, public health, and innovation. Far from static, Pepsi's formula remains a flashpoint, influencing policy debates and consumer choices while securing its place as a $90 billion powerhouse in the ever-competitive soda market. The current process, Pepsi's secret formula in 2025. In 2025, Pepsi-Cola's formula remains a closely guarded trade secret, stored in a vault at PepsiCo's headquarters in Purchase, New York. Much like Coca-Cola's Merchandise 7X. Only a handful of executives know the full recipe, which is produced in concentrated syrup form at secure facilities and shipped to bottlers worldwide. The base includes carbonated water, HFCS, in the US, natural flavors, vanilla, lemon oil, cola nut extract, caramel color, phosphoric acid for tang, and caffeine, about 38 mg per 12 Oz can. Variants like Pepsi Zero Sugar use artificial sweeteners such as aspartame and acesulfame potassium. Production involves high-tech facilities with quality controls, but the supply chain for cola nuts from West Africa remains somewhat opaque, raising sustainability questions. PepsiCo sources globally, with HFCS from US corn farms, but recent shifts toward real sugar in some markets nod to nostalgia. As of mid-2025, no major overhauls are planned, but ongoing tweaks address consumer feedback. Formula changes in 2025. Sugar reductions and artificial ingredient phase-outs 2025 has seen notable updates to Pepsi's lineup, primarily driven by health initiatives. In April, PepsiCo announced the removal of artificial dyes from popular snacks by year's end, accelerating a plan influenced by health advocates and figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. While focused on foods, this reflects broader clean label trends affecting beverages. For Pepsi itself, sugar reductions rolled out globally. In markets like Australia and Europe, regular Pepsi saw 35–50% less sugar, replaced with blends of stevia, sucralose, and acesulfame K to maintain taste. Pepsi Zero also updated, lowering sugar while enhancing flavor. In July, similar changes hit Mountain Dew, sparking outrage over altered taste. These align with global sugar taxes and WHO guidelines. Consumer reactions mixed. Reddit threads complain of disgusting changes, comparing to Coke's tweaks. PepsiCo defends them as maintaining taste amid health demands. Ongoing debates. HFCS, sweeteners, and health impacts debates center on HFCS, introduced in 1984 for cost, linked to obesity. Calls for real sugar persist, with throwback editions popular. Artificial sweeteners in zero-sugar variants face scrutiny for potential health risks. 2025 discussions on forums question if changes dilute the brand. PepsiCo pushes transparency, but secrecy fuels speculation. Controversies. Ethical, environmental, and health dimensions. Ethical issues include marketing to youth amid obesity epidemics. Environmental critiques target plastic waste and water usage in production. Health debates link sugary drinks to diabetes. 2025 changes aim to mitigate, but critics argue they're insufficient. Future implications. Reform and Pepsi's adaptation with ongoing sugar taxes. Pepsi may further reduce calories, potentially using AI for flavor optimization. Debates could lead to full HFCS phase-outs if consumer pressure mounts. Pepsi's adaptability ensures relevance, but balancing taste and health remains key. Pepsi's modern echoes encapsulate tensions between tradition and reform, commerce and wellness. As debates continue, the brand's legacy fizzles on.